Iburu, Iboya, Ibuche, everybody in Cyberland. It's your favorite Bawalao. At least I hope so. Omoodun Dileke. Coming at you. Always enthusiastic. Always happy to be on here. Always ready to serve. Because we learn, we teach, and we repeat. Because no matter what, we're all going to learn from each other. We're all going to teach each other. We all got perspectives. But this sequel on the Help Me Help You is one of my more favorite signs, right? And I love talking about it, but I definitely want to keep it short. I don't like doing long videos. Everybody knows if you have more questions or you want to go a little bit more in depth, shoot me an email, and we'll dig right into it. Okay? So today's video, we're gonna talk about one sign that's called Ogbe. All right. And Ogbe is Ogbe Ogunda, but this particular person is Omo Shango, which makes it very interesting. So, without digging into Shango, we'll talk about why Shango is so significant. And when somebody of Ogbe is Shango, we need to evaluate some things. All right, so let's start. So, this is my perspective, and this is not to get against anybody's godfather or nothing like that. That's not my intent. What you do with this information, you do. Okay, but I'll tell you, this is the information. All right, this is the oracles of Ifa. And they say, Ogbe, don't lie and don't be greedy. Okay, and I'm going to explain to you why. There's a pataki that talks about when Olofi was noticing that there was a great death and oppression that was coming to the world. And Olofi was trying to combat this great death. And what happened was, through trickery, through Ogbe, that was delayed. And people died and people suffered, and Olofi punished Ogbe for being a liar and being greedy, because Ogbe wanted to do it all himself, so he tricked these other Bawalaos not to show up to Olofi's house to do the ebos, and so the ebo didn't work, so it backfired on him 100%. At the end, the other three Bawalaos that he tricked and stuff like that come in, and boom, they figure out what Ogbe did. Ogbe in jail, 3 Bawalaos saved the day, but people still suffered. And it was because of greed. Greed. So, Ogbe, no trickery, no greed, no lying. You just can't do it. All right? Now, when we talk about Ogbe, we also need to take into consideration Obatala and Ogun. Because in this sign, Obatala being the father of the father of the divinities, when we talk about divinities that came on earth, right? Wow. We talk about Obatala, but we talk about how Obatala failed mankind. And then we talk about Ogun and how Ogun failed mankind. And it was through the acts of Orula that mankind was able to survive. And that comes through another pataki that explains these processes and why Ogbe is very delicate. All right, so then we talk about Shango, Omo Shango. And why is that so significant to this sign? Because Omo Shangos, all right, are kings in this sign. But it's not because they inherited their kingdom. It's because they were given kingdom through someone who was going through Ifa. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that in this sign is where San Lázaro, Babaluaye, did Ifa. But he gave Shango his kingdom. Another secret of the sign. So we have to delicately just begin to dissect this a little bit. So Ogbe, we talk about don't lie, we talk about don't cheat, we talk about, don't be so money hungry. Then we talk about how Shango became king. So there's a process that needs to be followed. But because Shango was given his crown through Babaluaye, Ogbe, you need to go get crowned. Okay? And when you're crowned, Mafarafun Orula, you need to go to Ifa. Because it was Ifa that saved mankind. It wasn't Obatala, it wasn't Ogun. And you're a king of kings. You're Omo Shango. So you have some stepping stones that you must complete. Why? Let me explain. So in this sign is where Ogun Choro Choro was born. This means that we give thanks to sacrifices and ebos. If there's anything, obeyonos, guess what you're gonna be doing a lot of? Ebos. You gotta do it. Why? Because the earth is counteracting with you. The earth is kind of working against you until you are spiritually aligned. Which means you gotta go get crowned and you gotta go through Ifa. You gotta do. You gotta do. That's what obeyonos gotta do. Obeyonos is the birth of all the colors of the collares. Why we give divinities certain colors. Obeyono has so much to do. It's almost as if Obeyono holds all the keys to what makes this faith beautiful. So, all right. Here's the other thing, Obeyono, that's really gonna make you, that's gonna interest you. When Orula saved mankind, it was because Orula then parted 2 goats to feed them. Okay? So here is secret number 1. You need to give 2 goats to your Orula. You need to give 2 goats to Orula to be grateful and to be thankful. Obeyono has the tendency of not wanting to be grateful sometimes. And that's dangerous. Alright? But more especially when I talk about how the earth, right, is against Obeyono, I tell you, hey, here's the second secret. Don't get wet in the rain. Don't go outside in the rain, because here in Obeyono, the earth is constantly contradicting you and constantly trying to go against you, and to the point where here is where I already mentioned Babalu Aye, a raft of God. Right, when we talk about pestilence and we talk about different things, so therefore in this sign comes viruses, comes sicknesses, right? You get wet, you get cold, you catch pneumonia, you catch the flu, you catch a cold, whatever. And we're dealing in an epidemic right now with COVID-19. Food for thought. Don't go outside, don't get wet. All right, start to line yourself up. Start to get really smart on what it is the ebos. You should have a very close relationship with the Babalao that gave you your mano de Orula, so we can make sure that you are walking a right path for success. Okay, the other thing, in this sign, there's a pataki that talks about how Olofi had to do an embo himself, and it was through Ogun that they did this embo in order for this curse to be lifted, this misfortune of burden that even Olofi felt the impact of, because the earth was that strong. So Obeyunos, do not be cocky. Obeyunos, be humble. Obeyunos, don't lie, don't be gluttonous. No trickery. You know what I mean? You gotta do things right. But here's the beautiful part of Obeyuno. Obeyuno, because of the unification that Obeyuno represents and the colors that he gives out, and where we got most of the identities when we talk about colors and attributes of the divinities, we give thanks to Obeyuno because he is the unification of family. He is the unification of Iles. Obeyuno, if he does everything right, Obeyuno, you know what he does? He creates a beautiful spiritual home. He creates a beautiful physical home. Obeyuno lined up right, and Omo Shango, Mafarafun Shango, has his crown on, does all his steps, does his ebo, gives Orula the chivos. Bo, you're gonna be great. But those are things you gotta look out for. And remember what I told you, don't get wet. But it doesn't mean that just the rain outside is gonna get you sick. Take care of yourself. Look at yourself medically. Those things are gonna be important. What else can I say about this sign? Let's see, we're at 9 minutes, 30 minutes. Hey, I'll leave you with this. The same pataki that we talk about with Orula for Obeyuno, because I don't want to drag this out and talk about other patakis. Get yourself a bell. Get yourself a bell, please. You know the bells, the Obatala, it looks like there's a feather on top, right? And it's silver. That's not really a feather. Ogun Choro Choro. That's Ogun's knife. And a lot of people misinterpret those things. So find yourself that belt and put it next to your orula. Alright? With that said, I'm already at 10 minutes and I don't like dragging these out. But you guys know, you need more information, anything else, you shoot me an email. la.regla.de.ifa@gmail.com. Iburu, Iboya, Ibucheche, Cyberland. Much love, much blessings. Ire, Acheo, to you all. And definitely, give me a like, give me a share. Iburu, Iboya, Ibucheche.